Danielle, it's Mary Beth. How are you?
Good. Hi, Meredith.
Oh,
Congrats, Meredith, on a great race this weekend.
thank you.
Slam
It was
jam,
one of-
baby.
I'm ready to jam. Yeah, it probably was one of my toughest weather conditions for a triathlon.
Tell us why.
Well, let's see. We had quite a bit of wind in Fort Pond that made us think we were in the Atlantic Ocean, and then the breeze going east to west almost knocked a few of us off our bike, and the wind wanted to introduce me to a sand dune, but I avoided that. So
That's a good thing. That is a very good thing. All right, let's see where we're at here. We got 8 people so far. I'm going to try and get to 10 before I start. And I'm going to try and wait for Andy, as I said. But here we are, AP Racing, starting our Coach's Corner. Yodel, dodel, yodel, dodel, photo. Who else we got here? Janice, Mike, Ed, Dean. All right. Everyone get their tattoos for Get Some Saturday coming pretty soon? I hope so.
yeah, I have a picture I can send you all that we put on for the race. Sure.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Well, I'm impatient, so I'm going to start. How's that sound, Amy? Cool. All right. All right, here we go. Oh, Betsy's iPhone. Here we go, Betsy. Come on, connect to audio. Rock and roll. And Mandy. Here we go. Oh, yeah, it's after school already there in Connecticut, East Coast time. All right. Yodel Dodel, AP Racing, Coach's Corner, October 1st. We're in the middle of it, the end part of the year, but we're also starting a new year. We got a lot going on. I'm going to break it down for a couple things today. First things first, I didn't get any questions, not one. Kind of crazy. So if I didn't get questions, if you have questions, you just throw them out there in the chat, or you just actually ask them like a human being, and I will answer them. But before that, a couple things. This time of year, in general, there's some people whose motivation is super high. Like, I know it's been like 2-3 years already, come out of COVID, whatever, like super high motivation, super focused. And other people are like, I just can't find a rhythm. I can't find what I want to do. I can't figure out how to get going again. And both are totally fine. I think what you need to think about is find that thing that maybe excites you, little thing, big thing, whatever, and work off of that. The other thing, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, or like constantly saying the same thing, is motivation begets motivation. So and routine really helps with motivation. If you don't have routine, you're never going to be able to feel like you're in a rhythm and have a flow and be able to get going. So as you're starting to get going in you're starting to find like that mojo, I almost would suggest stop trying to look for it. Like, nonsense. Don't look for motivation. Don't look for the it thing or the big aha. Look for a routine. Look for every day I'm going to do the same thing at the same time, or I'm going to do a little bit of this. Because as you build day in and day out, or week in and week out, that motivation is going to come naturally. Because you're like, oh, I've done this run 6 days in a row, and I've gotten better each day. And now next week I'm going to do something else on that run. I'm going to get better and better. So if you're really struggling, you're having a hard time, find one thing you want to do or whatever, and just start to build a routine around that. If you can't build a routine, you're never going to be able to stay motivated. You're never going to be able to stay in a rhythm. All right. So that's like advice number 1. Hey, Mr. Potts, how's it going?
Good. Sorry, I'm late.
It's okay. You were just finished working out.
Yeah, just got back.
Cool. We're just getting started. I was talking about motivation and how a lot of people are looking for that big aha, that big motivation. But the real key is just to make a routine. Pick one thing, pick whatever it is, and just have the routine. And every day, that routine is going to create more motivation over time. And you're going to find a lot of comfort in the routine. And that's what's going to get you going and going and going to build on it.
Yeah, I would move away from the word motivation. And I would really start to work at the word discipline. So what you do is you really discipline yourself saying, hey, I'm going to carve out this honest half an hour, this honest hour. And then you start to get a rhythm with it. And the rhythm is weekly. And then once you have that hour, it's like, oh, you can kind of shrink it or grow it based off of your goals and your needs. And then to come back to the word of motivation, what I would really stress here is, okay, if you need motivation that day, there's two things I would do. Number one is I would say, okay, maybe I'm not super motivated today. Let's just go and see what happens. I will reassess tomorrow. Okay. And that word tomorrow always exists, right? So it's always tomorrow. And then if you need an honest reassessment, then that does happen on the morrow. The second thing I would look for is if you are kind of struggling with a little bit of energy or motivation, may sound trite and I don't mean it to sound that way, but maybe you should have some caffeine.
Nope.
The caffeine will give you a little bit of stimulus to get that mind engaged, and then that inertia started, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea too behind our, as you all know, give me 5.
Yeah.
Get them on nurture, get them on movement. Most of you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then you do it and you're like, I feel so much better than I did. So
Totally.
And default back to routine, doing the same thing. Find one thing you want to do and go from there. The other thing, and to piggyback off this, is this is Kona week for people. Dream in season. People dream about this race. They dream about everything. But you know what dreams are? They're dreams. That's all they are. I heard a quote today from this guy. I don't know, I think it was a guy. It might have been a girl. I'm not sure. It was like, I will live like how you dreamed. So what's that mean? You don't have to, I mean, it's good to have dreams and hopes, right? But you have to put these things into practice. Without practice and repeatability, all they'll ever be is dreams.
Totally.
So into practice and go from there.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this. I'm not trying to get on a soapbox or anything with this topic, because I too struggle with it. I too struggle with that inertia and getting out the door. I'm not impervious to, this is awfully heavy of a lift and a load today. And I don't know if mentally I can handle it. Physically, once I get going, I'm always good to go. But sometimes that mental lift is quite demanding. And I'm more often than not, I am able to get out the door. And I really do this again. I really say, just hop on the bike, just go down the road. Just go up the hill one time. You don't have to do it 20 times. And then on the 20th time I go up the hill, I'm like, great, I'm glad I went 20 times. I will say, my two things that are the stickiest for me, and this going to sound weird again, is swimming. I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to swim today. Every time I get out of the water, I'm glad I did. And the other is lifting. I'm like, man, and I love lifting and swimming. And after every lift, I'm like, yes, I'm so happy I lifted. So.
Got it. I like it. All right. So Mr. Potts, we're going to break down Kona in a few minutes. But before that, some general questions that are applicable to everyone racing Kona. All right. Race week. We had a question a week or so ago. How do you prep on race week to get yourself ready?
So race week is about touching the intensities. I don't like to back too far away from the intense nature of racing. So I will touch them. It doesn't have to be all 3 every day, but I will touch intensities and kind of swing it down to the last day before the race. But, let's say the race is a Saturday. On Monday, the Monday before, my volume will shrink, but my intensity will stay just as high as it usually is. It's just less of it. Then again, the same thing on Monday, kind of shrink the volume of the intensity, but you stay with the intensity. And then I will actually also touch weights, maybe 3-4 days out as well, if I have the opportunity. If I'm already in a location where I don't have access to weights, I don't sweat it. I don't try to recreate something if it's gonna be too demanding. And then I try to stay fresh, and I try to think about different experiences that give me comfort. Oh, I remember when I was really uncomfortable. I was in Switzerland, and boy, I felt crummy before that race, and I feel crummy today. It's kind of like that. Oh, wait, I kicked ass in that race. Let's try to dial in on some of that. And then I'll pick a different experience each day to try to gain some comfort.
What about on like the food side of things? What do you do?
So for like my major race, an Ironman race, 3 to 4 days out, I'm really disciplined with what I eat. And I think it has made a big difference ever since we started implementing this philosophy. I know that sourdough things have the tendency to sit really well in people's tummies if you can tolerate. I think sourdough might have gluten, I'm not sure. But if you can tolerate sourdough, it's really good for your tummy. So I'll have like sourdough bread. I'll eat, this may sound weird, but I eat white foods because I know that I digest them well and digest them whole. So rices, pastas, eggs, bread, bananas, nuts, yogurts. And I try to stay away from like really fibrous things. Yeah.
So one of the things that I think about a lot when it comes to race week, I use one word I always keep in my head. It's hungry. Okay. And so the theme for me is hungry. I want to be hungry to put out the effort and race. I want my body to be hungry to want to do it and get after it. And I'm using this very liberally. I want my body to be a little hungry too. So I really try not to overeat, because you eat so much and you're build up in all the training. I really temper what I eat that week as well, so I'm not overeating, because your training volume has come down a ton. I say that with a grain of salt. I do put salt on my food. With, hey, you got to do what's right for you and be smart about it. But hungry is kind of my theme for everything. If that makes sense.
Daniel, I'm not racing this weekend, but I'm racing the next weekend, and I'm actually going to use that.
There you go. Let's go.
Thank you.
Here we go. Always coaching. Hashtag. Okay, next. And we're going to talk about this with Kona, but let me first ask you this question in general, and I have an answer as well. How do you go into a race, it's open water, whatever, and you get to go in the water before, and there's a current. How do you judge the current before the race, especially if you can get in? And then how do you deal with it during the race itself?
So when you're with the current, so what I try to do is, because tides and currents, they can be weather dependent, but they're also, there is a cycle to it. So 1 day out, 2 days out, it's going to be very similar, specifically with Kona and any ocean swims. So like you can swim a little bit longer with the current, and you need to shorten your stroke rate a little bit when you're swimming against the current. So you always want to have pressure against the water when you're swimming against the current. Any glide phases that you may have, they're going to be exploited if you're swimming against the current. It's going to really slow your speed down. And then with the current, sometimes, let's say there's like a little bit of a wave top, I will try to like recognize the wave top, and I breathe at the top of the wave, and it's like a breathe sight. You can tell when you are on the downside of a wave when your stroke gets a little rushed and you're like, oh, can't quite get up and look at it. So if you feel like you're long and then you have momentum, that's when you pop up and look. And then when you feel rushed, that just means put your hands back in the water, hand speed, hand speed, hand speed. Now, I will tell you guys this, in relation to any triathlon swim. You need momentum. You need cadence to your swim stroke. Nobody's counting how many strokes you take. Okay, so take a lot of them, because every time you're taking a stroke, that rhythm and that inertia grows, and it's also your breathing rate will increase too. So a faster stroke rate, and if you have the same rhythm to your breathing, but just quicker hands, then you're going to breathe a little quicker. You're going to bring in more O2, and it's going to kind of feed on itself. If you guys are wondering what to kind of process and think about in the swim, when you, I think of boxers. It's going to sound weird, but like, you ever listen to a trainer and they're like, throw hands, throw hands. That's what I think about when I'm swimming. Just throw my hands, throw my hands. So I get my stroke rate up, up, up.
Yep. And so one other thing for a lot of you guys is you show up to a swim and you think about, Andy, think about like LA or even Minnesota sometimes. You get side current, right? And you're like, all right, so the buoy's straight ahead. What do I do? So if you can get in the water before a race, if you're not there the day before, what you do is you swim out and you see how much you drift. If that's not a good measure, you straight up just go in the water, pick a spot on land and lay on your back for 30 seconds to a minute. Just float and you'll see how far you drift in the water. And in like an ocean swim, it's tricky because sometimes you have an inside current and an outside current and they're completely different. But let's ignore that for a second and just say you drift like 20 yards to the right. That's left from you, but whatever. What you have to do is when you get into the water, you can either start further to the side in your start of the race, or like I picture like where I'm going to go on top of my head and I kind of point at it and maybe I'm accounting for it. It's kind of like when you're putting in golf, you account for the break. You kind of account for that in the swim on top of increasing your stroke rate and everything else that goes along with that.
Yeah. Okay? And then, did you have something more, Dana?
No, if you want to hit on that, there was a question I was going to answer too. But go.
Okay. The last thing I would think about is if you can line buoys, and if that's a possibility, let's say you got buoy 1, buoy 2. When I'm sighting, I actually try to look at buoy 2.
Yes.
Versus going right at buoy 1 and then just reinventing and going and looking at buoy 2. I will try to line them up and I strictly look at buoy 2. And that helps me with like making micro adjustments, not these big, I'm not fishtailing down. I'm going, oh, it's a slight adjustment and then a continuation.
Yeah, like Arizona and Kona are actually both good examples. In Arizona, you turn at it used to turn at a bridge. It's really far down. You actually go under another bridge and the second bridge. I aim for the second bridge, even though you can't really see it, but I know where it is. And that's what I aim for. In Kona, it's the same way. I'm looking 2-3 buoys down and I'm aiming for those. Anyone that's racing Kona this weekend, Andy, it's typically faster on the current. No, it's slower on the inside, right? Like closer to the shoreline because you get that break and that bounce off.
Yeah, it pushes to the shore.
Yeah.
And it has a tendency to, it depends on the year, but like you'll notice like I'll fight to actually stay right a little bit. And by right, it's in that Kona swim, all buoys are on your right. And I have to actually consciously say, stay right, stay right. If I don't trigger that, if I don't have that mindset in my line, I will push left naturally.
Yeah.
And then I'm a little wayward in that regard.
Yeah. So whenever I race Kona, I usually, it's gonna sound ridiculous, I aim for the opposite turn buoy in my head. And then I swim inside most of the actual buoys that are on the way out. And I try and keep them to my left. And I think I'm going to that right one. And that pushes me right to the turn buoy. And then I come around. It's a long way. So you got time to adjust.
The thing that's, if you're in Kona, the thing that's tricky and why you can't look out and see that 1.2 mile turn with the boat is because it's actually like if you're on race site and you're looking out to sea, it's actually to the left.
Yeah.
But the way that the current pushes you, it pushes you in. and you want to stay right. So if you're out there and you just angle just a little left, you might be able to see that next buoy, the second buoy up the road, and then you stay to the right.
Yeah. And
Yep.
then, so question, and this isn't a curling question, but when you go to a race, and this isn't for you, but should you seed yourself in a faster swim group rather than a slower one? Because you usually catch people, right? And so there's an inherent problem with this because everyone does it, and then everyone's bumping up, and then you have that issue anyway. I can tell you I've done races where I've seeded myself in the very front of the race, and it was great. It was perfect. Open water, fresh the whole way, gone. I've also done that and gotten swam over and almost drowned. On the flip side, I've also seen myself absolutely last in a race, and I swam through the entire field. It's a little bit more difficult, but you're more in control at that point. So it really depends on your comfort level and what you're good with, because if people are swimming past you and over you, it's a really difficult feeling in the water. You could feel almost like a sense of loss of control, or like it could get scary. If you're swimming through people, you're faster than them. So like if it gets really crowded, you can accelerate and get away instead of having to try to find your space. So it really depends on your comfort level in the water and how you feel. I tend to say lately, like based on my recent experience, seed yourself ahead because everyone's doing it. So like if you're usually in the 110 group in an Ironman and you go to the 105, probably most of those people are 110 people too, to be honest. Like it's the way it works.
I would tend to agree. If you want to take a flyer and you are feeling overly aggressive on race day, you are feeling like my default disposition today is super aggressive. I want contact. I'm craving that, like that hunger to just shoot through people. If it's exaggerated to that point and you are really feeling it, I would seed yourself back. And then, but my default is clear, clean water is faster than a lot of churn water. So my default would be what Daniel said.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I would equate it to is like whenever we teach turn buoys, like in at camp and stuff like that, we say you shouldn't be at your top speed before the buoy, because if it gets crowded and it gets dangerous or like scary, you want to have more speed to be able to get out or be able to fight your way through. So if you feel like I can swim comfortably and be in clear water and then I can speed up if I have to, you always kind of want to have another gear. So if you feel like you're not going to have that other gear, you go back a little bit so that you have comfort in the water. I think that's more important than anything else.
Yeah, think about when you do a marathon, an open marathon, there'll be like pace people.
Yeah.
And you'll if you seed with them, the common refrain is, I was running my pace and then this guy came in and it can kind of throw you off, right? But if you are in control of your speed and you can go up or you can choose to push left or push right, find open space, I would default to the point where you want to gain more control.
Yeah. All right. Since there's no other questions, we're going to go straight to Kona, Mr. Potts.
Sounds good.
Hope we have enough time here. I'm not sure which Zoom I use, so if we get cut off, sorry. Give me 2 tips for the swim for everyone out there today.
All right, 2 tips for the swim. The swim start, you go down some stairs, and the buoys are actually probably about 100 meters, 70 meters out. So you want to make sure you get out to the buoy because that's your swim start, not when you go down the stairs. Think tempo, tempo, tempo. More throw hands. I'm liking throwing hands. Yep. And I'm liking the more hands you throw, the more breaths you take. Okay. So you're turning and burning and breathing and in, out with the bad, in with the good, out with the bad, in with the good. Look 2 up. That's my, and it's like an accelerated thought process too when you're in the water. If you have apprehension when you do get in the water, and that apprehension stems to the fact of like, boy, everybody talks about Kona and how awesome this race is. I don't know if I really want to be here right now. I'm treading water. I don't know if I really want to start this race. Can I please just go back to my hotel room? If that's you, that's okay. That's totally normal. just put one hand in front of the other, go from bobbing horizontal, or vertical, go horizontal, put the hands one hand in front of the other, get a little bit of leg action, not overly doing it. Just start moving forward. And then the gears will start to fall into place.
Yeah,
Maybe halfway through the bike.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Oh my God. We've all been there on that one. And then when you get out to the turn buoy, you get out, you're like, wait, that was only halfway. And then you always say to yourself, all right, time to get home. Time to come home. Coming home. I'm coming home.
Now that making.
Let's go. I'll be good in about 6 hours. Okay. All right. So that's that. Bike. Top 3 tips or info, and I'll give some too.
All right. So bike, I really like you to enjoy the town. You'll go down Palani and then you go out and then you come back up Palani. Enjoy the up Palani. You do not need to throw down power. I would stay away from power stroking for a while. Easily till past the airport, just ride out to the airport. It's like about, I think because of the out and back, there's about 12, it's maybe 12 miles at that. It's probably like 11 miles into the race, and just really be patient with it. Then start to feel the groove. Know that each aid station, there's a rhythm: water, Gatorade, gels, water, Gatorade, cola, gels, cola, Gatorade, water. All right. Every aid station is going to be like that. Now that I did hear the aid stations might be further apart because of the difference in volunteers this year. So just, be prepared. And everybody talks about the ride up to Javi. I would be really patient on the ride up and push the ride down.
Yes.
And then lastly, on the bike, if there are trade winds, usually the trade winds come from the mountainside and push to the ocean. And if that's the case, any gully that you see with a waterway, maybe it's like a slight bridge, or you'll see a guardrail start to appear. That's when you know you're going to get buffeted from the side, and it could push you a little bit. But if you're ready for it, you can see it coming. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, keep riding.
Pedal.
Pedal, 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 pedal.
I will say this, and Andy, you can tell me if you have the same experience, whether you're having a great day or not so great day. To get to Javi happens like that in this race. You don't realize how fast you get there because there's so much things going on at the beginning of the race. I mean, even when it's hard, I find we get there pretty fast. No or yes?
Yes.
Yeah, like you're like, crap, I'm here already. And then you got to go back and you're good up until, what's that, Haleiwa about? Is that Haleiwa? That the 2 mile out?
Kuakani?
Yeah, the Kuakani that goes back to the Queen K.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, this is real. And then it gets real. So like the where you're going to have to hunker down and be good is from Kuakani all the way back up to the overlook.
Overlook is the highest point on the ride on the Queen Kamehameha Highway.
Yeah.
If you can push your effort on the Queen or on the Kuakani uphill without overcooking it, because you're going to have resistance because of the hill, then you make that right, and I would accelerate.
Yes. And that's like a rolling stair step up the whole way back up until the overlook. And it's
Correct.
It's a bit more difficult than you realize. It's a tough spot in the race. Everyone who's there more or less can ride good out to Javi. So Pay them no mind and don't worry about it. You're going to be there fast. And then most people, if they overrode, are going to come back from Kuakani on. That's where the bike race you got to push down Javi because you'll have more control. You'll gain a lot of time. It's a really good pressure on the pedal exercise. But from Kuakani back is really where the race starts to happen for everyone, not just the pros.
Yeah, for the pros, Waikoloa home is about an hour, and that's when you win.
Yes, hands down. All right, the run.
The run, number one, on the run, it goes cool, then fuel. Keep it simple. Cool, then fuel. There will be sponges and ice first and last in every aid station. You will take ice, it goes down the shirt, it goes down the back, and it goes into the groin. Then you take fuel. If you can get it, if you want it, Then you finish with water, more ice, more ice.
Yep.
Cool, fuel, cool. And then move on down the road to the next rolling buffet station.
Yes. And now, Andy, how long is it right now? Because they changed it, right? Out to the
3.5.
3.5. So you're gonna feel like again, this is the same thing as like on the bike. Even when it was 5 and 10, everyone goes good through town. Just enjoy town because there's so many.
It's exciting.
It's really exciting. Enjoy it, okay? It's way more like when you're on Ali'i, more up and down than you think. So again, think like turnover going uphill, nice strong strides as you're going down. But again, just remember, everything till you get up to Palani is just for enjoyment. Just enjoy it. You're not going to win or push anything at that point. When you get up to the top of Palani, that's again where the race starts for you. And it really starts about 4 or 5 miles down the road from there. But like, you have to think that way, okay? It's going to be exciting. You're going to be feeling great. Like, even if you're not, you still are. Just enjoy it. Don't even think about anything else but enjoying that time on the run. Fair?
Totally.
Yeah. That's really the key for that race. Like, you have to temper yourself to when you got to go. And then when you got to go, you go.
Yeah. I would say coming out of the energy lab, there's still over a 10K to run. There's real running that happens out of the energy lab. And it's a good exercise in discipline and a great exercise in counting.
Yes.
Get good at counting. Count everything. Count steps, count cones, count slashes, count lava rocks, count people, because they stop people at a certain point. You're like, oh, next time I look at my watch, I'll run through 7 people. You count 7 people, like, okay, now I can look. I won't look at my watch till I do 300 cones.
Yep.
Count cones, 300 of them. There you go.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's the best way to handle that course and that part. Like, Palani out is super fun. Palani back, if you did it right, is even more fun. Not Palani back, Energy Lab back. If you did it right, it's actually fun.
Yeah, and you go flying past people if you did it right. And cool then fuel. Cool then fuel.
All right. I think that's all I had on my agenda of things, more or less. Let me see here.
I got 2 things. You should have all, well, if you ordered the Brian Kozera temporary tattoo shields, whether you're racing this weekend or not, we do have a BK event on the 8th, right, Daniel?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm gonna wear my tattoos. I got them Saturday. So so let's bring Brian across the line. You don't have to be in Hawaii to bring him across the line. I'm planning on racing again, like I said, not this weekend, but next. I'll have the tat on there. And then again in Arizona as well. I ordered a whole sheet of them. So if you have not, there are links in previous emails for you to do so. And it's not too late. You don't have to necessarily wear it this weekend. It's not too late to order.
Yeah, I think we sent out an email earlier today. Not 100% positive. I think we did, with what the actual workout challenge is. I will host a virtual version of it on Saturday, because Andy will be in the broadcast booth doing his best Joe Buck for the World Championship. So I will host it for our team on I think I'll do our Facebook page. That makes the most sense. But you can just do it on your own too. You don't have to do the workout challenge. Let's just do the best we can. I think it'd be great.
Absolutely. Keep him high in your thoughts. The second thing I was going to say was if you have the opportunity to tie into the Facebook feed, I will be on as an announcer all day. I'm not doing the morning, like before the race starts, but once the race starts, I'll be in a studio. I'm hosting it with Michael Lovato and Dee Dee Griesbauer and myself. We'll be kicking it to, we'll have a guy on the moto, Matt Lieto, and also Greg Welsh will be in studio, having a few guests come in on site, overlooking the finish line in Kona. I know that Jan Frodeno is going to join Greg Welsh on site for a half-hour increment. I think maybe 2 of them. So I'll get if you guys have questions you want me to ask Jan, I can ask them for you. Let me know. If you guys have questions or shout outs you'd like for me, or just like things that you think about and you want me to try and teach other people that you've heard that I do well, let me know. And I'll see if I can't plug and play during the announcements. So I know that Craig Alexander will jump in a couple times with Greg Welsh.
Awesome.
Good crew.
Yeah, it's a good crew, power crew right there. That's like the Troy Aikman of Ironman going on right now. Did you hear, side note, his thing the other day he did with the Aaron Rodgers? Who else heard it? So during the game, Aaron Rodgers is like, hike the effing ball, right? And they cut off his mic. And Tony Romo was like, oh, I think he wanted the ball. He said, come on, guys. Can you just hike it real quick for me, please? Like, it'd be great. Like, it'd be great if you just please did that. That'd be nice. It was so funny.
Miss that. That's nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. So just channel Tony as you get going.
You got it.
All right, guys. That was fun. Super wonderful. We had a bunch of everyone who is with the team, currently with the team, had renewals this month for custom plans and for Podsets Plus programs. If you want to level up and move from a plan to Podsets Plus, or from one to one-on-one coaching, we still have a few slots open for our one-on-one coaches, and some things happen. So please let us know, and we're happy to do that. If you're in the questions, let us know too. AJ, I know that link wasn't working. Something happened on their site. They're getting it back up. It was supposed to be up yesterday. If it's not up yet, then it's not. Andy's stretching right now. Looks good. So yeah, it'll be up very shortly. I'll send a note out if I find out when it's up again. That's all I got. If you guys got questions, let us know. Otherwise, same time, same place next month, maybe. All right. Peace out. Word 'em up.
See you guys.